Look, there's something undeniably crazy happening in Blitz right now, and I'm going to tell you about it. And I think you should know about it because if you're playing in a Blitz skirmish, this is important information. So let's go ahead and get into it. Here's a couple of heroes you should have on your radar, starting with the one that perhaps could be the best hero in the format. It's kind of debatable. It's KO. KO is interesting because KO has access to Blood Rush Bellows still, and that card can do some really crazy things if you set it up well. And the ability to come over the top with like a Blood Rush Bellows turn and just play like very strong 6 to 8 power attacks like once to twice per turn means that KO's arguably the best hero in the format. He's not the most aggressive, he's not the most stompy, but he is very consistent, which is hilarious because he has all of this stuff about discarding, drawing a card, discard, and so you would think that he would be pretty inconsistent with all of those things, but you look past all of that and he just puts up consistently powerful numbers. I had him as my best deck in the format, but I think I'm starting to shift my mindset on that a little bit because what could also be the best deck in the format is not an aggressive deck in a format that everyone feels like the aggressive deck is always going to be the best. And, you know, KO is so powerful because his numbers just go crazy. No, instead, Florian is actually showing to perhaps be the best in the format. Now, if you're looking at the data from all of those World Championship qualifiers across the world, all the ones that were played by Blitz, Florian was second place to KO. And Florian has, in my opinion, started to surpass KO simply because Florian is in some ways, perfect response to most of the decks in the format. Particularly all of those decks that want to go incredibly wide and maybe even in some cases tall. Florian has all of the defense reactions at his disposal alongside of this, end game tool in setting up a bunch of rune chants to just win the game outright. And you have to pressure him in a very specific way and really come over the top of his defenses in order for you to get out on top of Florian. But he's not so toxic and degenerate like Terra was a couple of seasons ago, really just last season. He is in no way, shape, or form a degenerate control deck like we've seen before. And that's a beautiful thing. It means that we have a powerful, stompy, consistent hero in KO that puts above rate numbers, doesn't go absolutely insane, but has high roll potential with Blood Rush Bellows. We also have Florian, who's a defensive deck by nature and can build up massive rune chants and do an OTK, but can also play like a mid-range game plan if needed by pivoting off of Scepter of Pain and onto the Reaping Blade. But it doesn't stop there because we also have Blaze Firemind, who is the most underrated hero in the format right now. There have been, and I'm going to show this data here in a second, as I'm just going through, rifling through a couple of heroes you should have your eyes on. There have been about 1,000 games, maybe up to 1,100 games played on Talishar in the past 30 days on Blaze. She's one of the most heavily played heroes, and I can say that I have almost accounted for 10% of those games, which is a crazy statement to make. But Blaze Firemind, if played correctly and in the hands of a grizzled veteran, is almost peerless in this meta. It's incredible how good she is even after they took Stormstriders away. The interesting thing about Blaze is that she is very powerful against Florian, but the data suggests that she has her own very polarizing matchups, basically unwinnable on paper matchups. Now, you talk to me, I disagree with that because my results have not been indicative of what the overarching Talishar results show. But her biggest hits are of course Illusionist in the form of both Prisms and also KO, right? Which is interesting because KO is one of the winningest decks in the format right now. The crazy part is I have not found a losing record, and instead I've found a winning record into KO with my version of Blaze. And so it puts her in this weird spot where she's very good, But there are decks out there, and including the deck I'm about to talk about, that can just go faster than her. And there are decks out there that can do way bigger numbers than she can even deal with. I'm talking the Prisms, and if the KO player finds Blood Rush Bellow. So she's in an interesting spot, because she could very well be one of the, if not the best hero in the format. I don't think she is, but she could be in the right hands. But she could also just go like 0-3 drop if she runs into Prism, and a high roll KO. Like she's like this biggest, widest spread. And honestly, I think that's like the perfect place for her to be, because she's really powerful. And if you learn her and you're dedicated to playing her, and you put about the number of games I've put on her, which is almost 700 games, you can beat your bad matchups, and you can do it fairly consistently. But I haven't even gotten to the craziest part. I'm going to keep going. Aurora. This is a bad matchup for Blaze, and this is the hair on fire type deck that we have in the format. The crazy thing about Aurora is she just lost pieces. She was just lost pieces that were banned for in Blitz, and yet she's still good, and she can still just go super wide and crazy. She still has access to the combo and Arc Lightning. She doesn't have Flicker Wisp anymore, but she can still just pop you for so much damage. And the fact that she has some amount of evasive tools where she can block with 2 cards and then pop them, somersault them back into her hand, means that she does have a bit of blocking and a bit of staying power in those like quicker games. So if you're looking for a hair on fire style hero that can really just go as fast as humanly possible, Aurora is showing to do quite well. And the other hero that I think kind of exemplifies that, but on a different axis, is Arachne Solitary Confinement, because Arachne Solitary Confinement can fire off like 3 attack reactions from hand and turn a 3 power into a 12 power. It's crazy what Arachne Solitary Confinement can do, and the craziest part is most of these things happen at attack reaction speed. So you have a hair on fire hero that just puts damage on the board, and here you have a very strong, very aggressive hero that attack reacts you down. And so you have these 2 sides of this aggressive coin that are kind of doing the same I'm going to rush you down, but in a unique and different way. And they pose challenges for the rest of the meta. And you can see why, if both of those heroes are towards the top, you can see why a hero like Florian sits, maybe in the best position of all of them, because you have defense reactions and defensive tools to, really kind of curb your opponent and stop their aggression. But this isn't the craziest thing, because I have to show you the data on this last one. Did you know that the second most winning hero on Talishar right now is Riptide? It's Riptide in Blitz. As someone who plays a bit of Riptide in Blitz, it's not the most shocking thing, but it's still a little shocking. And I've played a good bit of Riptide in Blitz. Riptide is in a really good meta position to answer a lot of these decks. I have to show you what I mean. Okay, I've zoomed in. I'm on fabblazing.net. You can't quite see it, or sorry, .com. Fabblazing.com. .net. It's .com. That's a deep cut. Anyway, this is the Blitz data from Talishar over the last, I believe, 30 days. Now, if I have this sorted correctly, I believe it's just sorted correctly already by the overall win percentage. There it is. Florian sits at the top with 741 matches played and overall 464 wins. But look at Riptide. Riptide is really good right now versus KO, because you have defense reactions that can stymie their turn. You can play into pulping and turn their turn off because you have an arsenal defense reaction. You can even dance around it by playing a defense reaction from hand, arsenaling one off of the Riptide trigger, and playing that defense reaction from arsenal. So you can play a defense reaction heavy version of Riptide, and you can actually do quite well into KO. And I think it's a small sample size, but this conceptually works, and it is backed up by what I have experienced and played myself. pretty solid matchup. I don't know if 66, 0.67% win rate is like 100% correct, but pretty solid matchup from Riptide into Vinset. And you can do some really solid work into Aurora with all of those traps that trigger off of Go Again, and just Collapsing Trap is very, very good. The interesting thing too is it's not too bad into Florian, because they're just sitting back and trying to play their own defense reactions. It ends up meaning that your defense reactions kind of go by the wayside. But the crazy part is, if you're playing a mostly aggressive version of Riptide, you're okay with this because you're pushing these weird breakpoints and they are forced to play only from the arsenal because you have Dreadbore in the sideboard, or maybe even in the main board. Maybe you just play the Dreadboard in the main board, which is actually what I do because I really love Dreadbore, and it screws them up so bad that they have to like take this weird line just to arsenal the D-react and then play it so they can get through their decomposes. It is so effective into some of these top heroes. I didn't mention Vinset as one of those heroes to watch out for, but she's quite good. In fact, she's actually better slightly than Aurora. I think she's a little volatile in this format, but still. Riptide does have some negative matchups. For some reason, there's like one game played versus Arachne, so just kind of walk that one away. But like any of the Guardians, they don't feel good. I know the screen might be a little cut off. Guardians don't feel good. Any Illusionist, like Enigma specifically, doesn't feel good. But funnily enough, the like big stompy Prisms, you're like so fine into. It's crazy because you can deal the 1 damage and pop ward. Oh, it's insane that this hero actually does this. Guardian is like your least favorite matchup, but like no one is playing Riptide. Are you kidding me? No one in their right mind would ever play Riptide in this format, and yet they probably should be, because like your only bad matchups are Blaze and like Guardians, and no one's really touching Guardian right now. And Blaze is like a hit or miss hero. It's crazy. Just think about what I said to you about this meta. There is a mid-range hero in the form of KO that just goes crazy on numbers. There's a defensive hero that is probably the best deck in the format, but it's a fair defensive deck in Florian. There's 2 flavors of aggro, one that just goes crazy with a bunch of like go-agains in the form of Aurora, one that has a bunch of attack reactions. That's Arachne, not Slip Through the Cracks, but Solitary Confinement. Then you have a wizard that is good but volatile, as wizards always should be. And you have the perfect counter pick in Riptide, who, if the meta stays the same, could be the better hero out of like all of them. That's the meta? Are you kidding me? Look, all I'm saying is that Blitz is really good right now. It's really freaking fun. And look, I'm not even done. Here, hold on. If we go back to here, I could go even further down. I didn't mention anything about Dorinthia Quicksilver Prodigy. I didn't mention anything about Syndra, anything about Prism 2. Advent of Thrones is actually great. And I stopped talking altogether about Dromai. Dromai is in a great spot right now as well. If you want a board state hero, you can play Dromai. Both Dash and Data Doll are also some super solid options, a little bit volatile into certain matchups, but like if you're looking to counter Blaze for some reason, Data Doll's not bad. It's really like this weird coin flip, and the data probably says that it's like super, no, it looks like it's only 60% based on that. I will tell you right now, I represent many of the losses in this column because I have a positive win rate into Data Doll, but that's because I know how that matchup should be played from the Blaze perspective. But look at all of these heroes that are positive. Levia, you remember that hero exists? Can you believe that? Levia is positive, and some of these haven't been proven as like much, you know, they haven't been played as much, and the matchups are like a lesser, but like these heroes can go, and the meta is quite good. So if you're going to be playing in a skirmish season, I highly recommend that you go out and find a Blitz event. You should find a Blitz event. You should play in it. There are so many heroes you can choose from. The format's really fun. The high roll nature of the format has really started to shift away. Yes, of course, just like in any game, you can definitely have these big crazy spike moments. And I think the same thing is kind of true in CC now, whether you want to admit it or not. Either way, this is in an incredible spot, and you should try the Blitz format again this skirmish season if you have the chance. I'm going to be doing some deck tech, some Blitz guides, if you will, for some of these heroes. So mention a hero in the comments down below that you'd like to see more info for, and I'd be happy to do that for you. As always, everybody, if you appreciate this, make the number go to the other number, and thanks for watching.